Today on Super Soul Sunday.
Miss Nyad! Oh my gosh, are we gonna have a talk or what?
We're gonna have a conversation.
I am just jazzed that you're here.
Get ready to dive in, you Super Soulers, because we're going deep.
You are a real warrior.
You saw Diana Nyad inspire the world with her historic 110-mile swim. Now we're going behind those headlines to get to the heart of Diana's story.
Ooh, good.
Her superhuman feat was about way more than the swimming.
Am I living the life that I can admire?
It was all about elevating her life's purpose.
And it wasn't so much what did I want to do, it was who I want to be.
Whoa.
Her dream was 3 decades in the making.
Do you have a timetable for yourself when you're going to retire from marathon swimming?
Oh yeah, that's Cuba.
How she found the will, the courage, and the spirit to complete this impossible journey at age 64.
Didn't everybody say it couldn't be done?
Diana's awe-inspiring, record-shattering triumph is sure to help us all discover the warrior within us.
Find a way.
I love that.
Get ready to soak it all in.
The crowd goes wild.
Part 1 of Super Soul Sunday with Diana Nyad starts right now. I wanted a place for people to go every Sunday to wake up. Thought-provoking.
Oh, you couldn't have said that better.
Eye-opening and inspiring.
This is my favorite thing to talk about.
This'll lift you right on up. It's food for your soul.
Every single Sunday.
This is Super Soul Sunday.
After 4 failed attempts at the age of 64, Diana Nyad swam for nearly 53 hours straight from Cuba to Florida, redefining what it means to be 60-something and accomplishing what nobody else has ever done before. It is a triumph, really, of athleticism, of course. It is a triumph of will, but when I first heard, I said, it's a triumph of spirit. Take a look.
Like so many of you, I watched Diana Nyad's first tentative steps returning to land after more than 2 days at sea. I watched with wonder and amazement. Who is this woman, and how did she do that? What does it take to swim 110 miles straight? Because you know it's more than strength and muscle. It is otherworldly. It is determination, grit, focus, and soul. It was a dream that began when Diana was just 5 years old. Her father told her that her last name, Nyad, meant champion swimmer in Greek, and that would become her clarion call. She began swimming competitively in school, driven and focused, sometimes practicing more than 6 hours a day. And while Diana began collecting dozens of trophies and awards, she also began harboring a painful secret. She says she was sexually abused by a coach.
I swam with a lot of anger. I was so angry at myself for not helping myself. So why didn't I throw him off me?
The water was one of the only places, Diana says, she felt safe. Even though she never became an Olympian, she did become one of the best marathon swimmers in the world, making headlines as she swam 26 miles around the Isle of Manhattan faster than anybody ever had before. Diana seemed to possess superhuman strength, always chasing the sublime experience of transcendence.
The most difficult thing I know, mentally or physically, is swimming these great bodies of water. And I feel like I have a moment of immortality when I get to the other side.
But no goal inspired Diana more than the Cuba to Florida swim. In 1978, when she was only 28, Diana attempted the 110-mile marathon for the first time, but rough seas forced her to quit. A year later, after setting another world record, she announced she was done. For more than 30 years, she did not swim a lap. Instead,
You did it. The best
she
time.
forged a new path with a career in sports journalism.
I now fight the sharks of the broadcasting business. They're
Oh,
worse.
I know those.
But in 2007, after her mother died, Diana began reevaluating her life, and that unfinished business of the Cuba swim began tapping her on the shoulder.
I looked myself in the mirror and I said, it's in your soul, it's in your heart. You can do this.
So at 60, Diana returned to the water, more fiercely determined than ever. She'd try it another 3 times.
Oh, it's jellyfish. Oh, it's so painful.
Before finally, in her 5th grueling attempt, against all odds, on September 2nd, 2013, Diana Nyad stood victorious.
So when I first heard you finished, I wanted to talk to you immediately. It just filled me up because I just became a swimmer a couple of years ago and not that good at it, just, okay. I couldn't even imagine what it takes to do something for 53 hours straight. And I recognized, as I know you do, that you had to transcend your humanness and go beyond that to something else. Is that true?
Yeah, I think the people who have studied, if you could empirically study the will, but when we look at people in war and people in true survival, there is something beyond what the body's capable of. We do all these measurements, couldn't possibly ride up the Alps, couldn't possibly, the will is so undefinable and can push you so far beyond. I've had sports scientists, the best of them, write me and say, I'm sorry to tell you, this is humanly impossible. And I write back and say to them, you have no idea then. You're just doing your little studies on what the heart can do and what the lungs can do. I'm talking to you what the spirit can do, and that's not measurable.
Well, interestingly enough, before you attempted this, did you not put together the team that would do all the measurements and all that? Did they say that it could be done? Didn't everybody say it couldn't be done?
All of them. Cannot be done. You go somewhere else. Swim something lesser. It just cannot be done. And I just said, I still believe. Call me crazy. I don't want to go to 90, keeping trying this every year, but I believe we're going to make it across.
So when you had the failed attempt at 28, this is what's so incredible.
Yeah.
You had this dream since you were how old?
Really that came to me at 28. I was finishing marathon swimming. I had swum around Manhattan Island,
Right.
and that was a kick in the pants, and all these other swims. And then I was starting on to getting jobs with Wide World of Sports and everything. And I thought, I'm 30. It's time to move on, make some money, become an adult. And sport is for the young, and I'm about to retire. So I just got out the nautical charts of the Earth's surface at my New York apartment. When I saw Cuba, my heart took a leap, and I said, there's nowhere else. The Earth is 4/5 water. So you could go to the Maldives and Guam and the Straits of, whatever. But I saw Cuba, and I thought, it's in my heart. It moves me. The forbidden country, the beautiful land of Cuba, the 2 nations that should reunite, all of it just moved me. And I thought, there's nothing else. Nothing else could spark me to this. It's Cuba.
Okay, so I loved that shot where that your nephew did this beautiful film.
Yes.
Yes, the other shore.
Yes.
But I love that part of the film where the first time they're taking you out of the water, your lips are swollen, you can barely stand up. They're dragging you out, and you're saying, well, I don't want to quit. I don't want to just quit.
Yeah.
After 42 hours. After 42 hours, yes.
Yeah, and that's what I mean about the
Not
spirit.
a pretty sight.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
It's going to be great for me, though, because I'll be in all the before pictures, and, you got nowhere to go but up for the after pictures, yeah.
And so even then, you had that kind of drive and determination. At 42 hours, you'd been sick and vomiting and cold and all of that, and still didn't want to quit.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I think about, the spirit is larger than the body. The body is pathetic compared to what we have inside us.
And then you didn't do a stroke in the water for 31 years.
Diana's first attempt to swim from Cuba to Florida in 1978 was not meant to be. A year later, Diana set her sights on a different goal and became the first person in history to conquer the 60-mile swim from the Bahamas to Juno Beach, Florida. Despite her outward success, her passion for the sport had dimmed, and at 30, she felt it was time to move on. Eager to abandon what she calls the loneliest sport in the world, Diana retired.
At 30,
Yeah.
you were done.
I'm done, burnt out, enough already. I'm sorry I didn't make Cuba. It ate at me a little bit. It was a treasure of a dream, but you know, you can only take so much after a while, and I was, you know, starting to work in the big world of Olympic coverage, you know, in sports and living a different dream. And so I wouldn't have, during those 30 years, if you and I had been hanging out eating dinner, I wouldn't have said to you, Oprah, just, it eats at my soul, that Cuba swim. It represented the metaphor of who I am. I can't let it go. I can't live without it. It wasn't like that, but it was more this little whisper. It was this little whisperer that, gosh, it would have been magic to do that thing.
Yeah, a little whisper. Was it? And then did the whisper turn into a little nagging thing?
Well, it was more turning 60 that prompted the nagging thing. My mom had just died, and she was 82, and I miss her.
It took many decades for Diana to forge a close relationship with her mother. In 2007, Lucy Nyad passed away after a long battle with Alzheimer's disease. Diana called the last years of her mother's life their most tender times. She says her mother's death sparked something inside of her, and she began grappling with the big questions, asking herself, am I everything I want to be?
So I started thinking, my mom died at 82. Does that mean really I have 22 years left, and maybe those last 2 or 3 or 4 aren't going to be too vital? I don't know. But the clock is like choking me now. And it wasn't so much what did I want to do, it was who I want to be.
Whoa.
That's what it was. It's like that. I really don't have it in front of me, but there's a Henry David Thoreau quote that really grips me hard, and it says, when you achieve your goals in life, it's not what that gets you, but it's who I am.
Right, right.
It's who I am, and I needed, at 60, I needed to say, forget about the ledger. Are you in the halls of fame? Did you make some kind of money? I don't care about that anymore. As you know, those things just, as you get older, who cares?
That's right.
Am I living the life that I can admire? Am I going to leave this earth maybe as you do, leaving it a place where it's a little more just than it was, and human rights have been fulfilled more than they have? Those are my values. And never giving up, and finding a way through your obstacles, and finding your grit and your will, those are what I value. And at 60, it wasn't about swimming. And this swim for me has never been about swimming. And I don't think to anybody out there it's about swimming. It's about those values. And you know what? I am that person, swimming or not. And I proved it to myself, and that's why I did this swim.
Well, I think, you know, when I watched The Other Shore, and everybody I know in the office who's seen it, they were saying, one of the producers said she was walking in the rain the other day, and normally she would have complained, but because she'd seen that, she walked briskly and embraced the rain. I mean, in everything that you do, when you think about giving up or you think that you're tired, what you showed us all is what a real warrior looks like. Yeah. So were you not pleased with where you were at 59? You didn't like the way your life looked at 59?
It's not so much that, but you know, I don't know why we take birthdays so seriously in our culture. You talk to people from India, they don't even know when they were born. So it's a little silly. But you know, we do these reckonings. When you're 40, you get up and give a speech with a glass of champagne, and you say, I want to do this, and I want to be this, and what haven't I done? I'm going to regret that. And so I just wanted to get to the point where, forget about it. I guess I was doing the best I could with the skills I had at 20 and 30 and 40 and 50. So no, it's not like I'm not proud of myself for those years, but who cares about them anymore? They're in the past, and I just wanted to start at 60 because I could.
Coming up,
every human being on this planet has their pain and their heartache, and it's up to all of us to find our way back to light.
how a chance encounter with a stranger changed Diana's life forever.
I'm so moved by that story.
We're on a mission
to tackle life's big questions.
I'm Golriz.
And I'm Devin.
And this is
Soul Pancake. Happy 100.
What is happiness? Some people spend an entire lifetime trying to figure it out.
So, Soul Pancake found a person in every decade of life and asked them to share their take on happiness.
What can I tell you about happiness? What do you want to know about happiness?
Happiness means being able to afford your next meal.
What I love are yams.
An evening that I had at a dance hall in London with a lady many years ago.
It sort of finds you and takes you over and turns you into a giggling, joyful mess on the sidewalk.
My happy place is just being still. You know, you find your middle ground where you can get some sanity and keep that sanity.
Happy place? In bed, preferably with someone.
Happiness actually is a state of mind, so I can be happy anywhere.
Disneyland. I like to go hiking, and so I always feel really happy when I'm up in the mountains.
Surrounded by a good group of people is a happy place for me.
In my younger years, a happy day would be a day on the golf course. But as I grew older, the people around me became the source of my happiness.
Sometimes I get a really big cotton candy, like...
I made that bucket list that people talk about. So I went swimming with dolphins. I went snowboarding. I surfed 3 different waves.
The older I get, the more I can find happiness in almost anything.
I used to think that things made me happy, or people made me happy, but I also think now that happiness is from inside me first.
How do I define happiness in one word?
Happiness in one word.
Not without using a dirty word.
Happiness in one word for me, I think, would be love.
Love.
Love. Love is happiness.
Oof, love. Absolutely.
To share and be joyful and smile a lot and hug a lot and just love people and love myself.
Growing up in Fort Lauderdale, Diana says her home life was tumultuous. Her father was temperamental and prone to flashes of anger. She felt her mother was cold and distant. The water had always been Diana's sanctuary, but as a teen, it truly became her refuge. She says a swim coach began molesting her, and as Diana puts it, it rocked the cells of her little being. When she finally told her mother about the abuse, Diana says she was told not to use words like that. The person in question has always denied the allegations.
What did it teach you about yourself, this experience?
You know, a lot of things I used to, and it could be from, you know, going through childhood, teenage sexual abuse, that I kind of had a classic response to that, which was put on a suit of armor and say, I'm tough, I don't need any help. I can muscle my way through everything in this life, and I'm on my own. I'm on an island. You know,
Yes.
Nobody's helping me.
Yes.
That's how I was as a young person.
I was struck in the film. You know, you were talking about one of your coaches.
Yeah.
And it was classic abuse.
Yeah. Epidemic. It's epidemic. Yeah.
Epidemic. Classic abuse, where you said, in the end, you said, I allowed it to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was struck by that because it sounded somehow like you were blaming yourself for it.
Yeah. But don't we all, isn't that the MO? You know?
Yes.
You know, doesn't every kid whose parents divorce think it's their fault?
Yeah.
And doesn't every kid who goes through sexual abuse, they don't have that intellectual reasoning
but
to say,
that's what the abuser counts on. He counts on that if he gets you in and can convince you that you should do it, and you don't tell the first time, it's harder to tell the second and third because you must have liked it.
Oh yeah, and you believe all those
Yeah.
things that you don't understand, and
Yeah.
this is the most important thing in my life, and you will never make it. As a swimmer, you need to do what I say, and he's up on a pedestal. But I, for years until very recently, did blame myself. So it's a classic example, and it's an epidemic. And you know what? I'm here to do something about it. Not about him. Who cares about him? I'm here to talk to young people. And it's not just girls. Boys going through it too. What are the statistics now?
I know.
1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys.
1 in 6 boys.
I'm here to say, you can, at a young age, you see it, you just say, no, get away from me. Even if you don't have a strong parent, which I didn't. May my mom rest in peace at that time to go to. You just say yourself, I know this is wrong. Get away from me. And I didn't have that kind of leadership, but I'm not blaming anybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a teen, Diana was drawn to epic stories of survival, and she immersed herself in them. She read voraciously and would draw strength from the testimonials of brave souls who overcame hardships and abuse with dignity and resolve. It was Holocaust survivors that spoke to her most of all, their words echoing in her heart with, as she calls it, the relentless life force of the human will.
You know, often people say to me, you know, who do you admire in life? It's just people who decide that they're going to live a good life. And I met this woman. I told the story of my sexual abuse on stage one time at a corporate talk, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's just my life, and I don't suffer through it. I'm no victim, but I tell it because it's real and because it is an epidemic, just to put it out there. So one night I talked about it, and later that night I was invited to this dinner, and this woman, older, she had already retired as a professor. I think she was upper 80s, but she had the light of life in her eyes. She was still burning strong. And she reached across the table to get something that night like this, and her sleeve pulled back, and I saw the numbers. Etched in her forearm, and I said, "You're a survivor." And so she told me about it. 3 years old, Poland. Gestapos came in, got the family. The father said, "I'm not going. You can shoot me right here. I'm not leaving my home. I'm not going to that gas, whatever you're taking me to." Shot him right there. She remembers it at age 3. The mother and 6-year-old were taken that way. She never saw them again in her life. At 3, that day, became the SS officer's concubine and was forced to do, you know, the whole thing for 2.5 years. At 3, I started weeping at this table. And I said, first of all, I feel so ashamed that I brought up my little story on stage tonight about what I suffered in my life. And she said, "Don't ever say that. Every human being on this planet has their pain and their heartache, and it's up to all of us to find our way to back to light." And she said to me she was adopted by cousins in Paris, and that mother, so now she's 6, after they were saved, the Allies came in, the mother came to her in the garden, and the little girl told her everything. And this woman said to her, "Look, darling, hold my hands. You will never forget this experience. You can't. It happened to you. It's real. But put it in your soul deep, deep down, and don't let it live on your skin, because this is a beautiful life. And almost all the people on this planet are beautiful, loving people. And you're going to know them, and you're going to live a beautiful life filled with joy." And that helped me. Her night telling me that helped me more than anything I've ever heard about the whole sexual abuse thing. Fine, it happened. You got anger, that's fine,
don't
but
wear it on your
don't let it
skin.
ruin your life. This is your life, not his life, you know? So those are the people I admire, who have had real tough roads, but they have found a way to still live a beautiful life, you know?
I'm so moved by that story.
Yeah.
I so admire Diana for finding her way. Don't you all? Coming up, the deadly risk of the dreaded box jellyfish.
Fire, 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 fire. It kills more people than it does shark bites every year.
Good God.
Yeah, it's not a matter of mind over matter. You're done.
How this warrior woman kept swimming through the danger zone.
Who are you? When I read that and saw that, who are you?
In August 2013, amidst a crowd of devoted fans and brimming with confidence,
Hey, team!
Diana made her 5th attempt to swim from Cuba to Florida. Though she had trained diligently for months, many believed it was impossible, a dream Diana would never realize. And while most of the media had lost interest, Diana set out to achieve the dream that had eluded her for 30 years.
Courage! Adios!
What are you thinking as you're going out into the water? What are you thinking?
You know, the reason the disappointment of not making it the 4 times was so crushing is because I didn't leave any room for that. I was in absolute, unwavering belief. You're not filled with fear. You're not filled with, oh, well, maybe I might not make it. So if I don't, let me see. How can I put it together again for next year? You know, you are making it. You believe. And when it's over and you're pulled onto the boat and now you're chugging into Key West, you're stunned because there was no room for that. And there can't be. There can't be.
This final run, you were more prepared because what did the jellyfish teach you
I feel like
4 years ago?
I feel like I took that variable out. We had the world's leading expert on the box jellyfish. The box jellyfish kills more people than it does shark bites every year. You're very lucky to live through it.
Good God.
Yeah.
Diana survived more than one encounter with the toxic box jellyfish. These odd-looking creatures are said to contain the most deadly venom in the ocean.
It's otherworldly. You go into paroxysms of paralysis, and your heart and your lungs stop. It's not a matter of mind over matter. You're done. And I did. Something in the will took over, and after the first massive stings, you can see the marks there.
Yes.
Every little point on there is a harpoon. Right there, those marks right there have 100,000 harpoons in them. And every one of those whips a venom into your cardiovascular system and stops you. So you're swimming like this, you're breathing. I was yelling to Bonnie, I'm on fire. I'm on fire, help me.
Wow!
Diana, was it a jellyfish?
Yes, many of them. Come on, come on.
Wow, 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 wow. Oh, yeah. Fire, fire.
Oh, yeah, she's got it all over her.
Fire, 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 fire. My spine and my chills.
Turn over.
It was life or death.
So they're
out there.
trying to shoot you. They're shooting you in the water.
Adrenaline,
so that
prednisone.
So you can keep breathing.
Yeah, and you keep breathing. And I went for 24 more hours. So courage.
Who are you? When I read that and saw that, who are you?
Well, that's what I say. I don't even think that's conscious. You decide beforehand you want to do this, and you will do it.
But
and
you've been stung and you can barely breathe, and now you're not swimming like this. You're swimming like this.
Yeah, you're debilitated.
Do you put your mind someplace
No,
else?
you're in crisis. You put your mind somewhere else when you're feeling well. Like this time, that first day, those first 10 hours off Cuba, I was happy. I was just gliding along the surface. I was feeling part of this universe. I was looking down at a blue that a painter can't even imitate. In the Gulf Stream, the team, I see them on every breath, taking their spots and doing their jobs, and we're just clicking like a well-oiled machine, and it was beautiful. We're pros.
While swimming is a solitary sport, Diana is hardly alone when she attempts a marathon. She's surrounded by a dedicated team of 35 people, including kayakers, navigators, physicians, and jellyfish experts. At the helm is Diana's business partner and best friend, Bonnie Stoll.
We have tattoos. I never thought I'd have a tat, but now I'm like in the young group. I have a tattoo that says Ishin Denshin. I have one here, she has one here, and it means one heart, one mind. And I tell you, once we're out there for 40 hours, we don't talk anymore. She goes like this. And I come over and I look in her eyes, and she goes like this. Give me 5 more minutes. Go on. Let's see, do you have 5 minutes in you? Let's not talk about the whole thing. We may quit in 5 minutes, but show me you got 5 more minutes in you. Go on. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's deep. It's a deep thing. But I was going to say my mantra this year, and they have to be honest. Sometimes you onward, just plow onward. But this year it was find a way.
Find a way.
It doesn't matter.
I love that.
And you know what? That's what people resonate to, because I can talk about people.
Find a way.
People working through their teenage daughter has become a hormonal nightmare, and they might commit a homicide over the next. But that's your daughter.
Find a way.
Find a way. If it's important to you, we can get there. And so that was my thing this year. Jellyfish, seasickness, pain, cold. Find a way.
As we all know, Diana found a way. To prepare for her 5th and final Cuba to Florida swim, Diana took every precaution to protect herself from the box jellyfish. She wore a Lycra suit, booties, and a special silicone mask. She remained vigilant not to fall victim to the stings of the past.
It was difficult to swim in, but I never would have gone back this year without it. It was my savior.
Yes.
There you can see I have a suit, I have surgeon's gloves, I got booties, all legal. You're not allowed to wear neoprene. That was Lycra, but the face is silicone. And, it's difficult. It's burdensome. You're taking in salt water. It rubs huge lesions on the inside of your mouth. But who cares? No jellyfish can get me with that on. And so this year I came back and I knew the jellyfish were no longer an issue.
Coming up, the music that helps Diana keep her rhythm.
I have a playlist of about 85 songs, and they're all in my head, and I hear it. If I sing it 1,000 times, I've got 9 hours and 45 minutes. To the boom, to the beat.
Let's talk about this last run. You said the first 10 hours you were happy.
I was. But you learn, it's like a little microcosm of life. You have a great day, everything's all set. You love all the people in your life, and then the next day, someone wrongs you, and you feel betrayed, and you've got to deal with it. So you don't ever coast, you don't ever take it for granted. People say this in their relationships and their marriages all the time. You don't just say, oh, this is going to go forever. You know, unless you're working on it constantly, it's not going to go forever. And it's the same with this swim. It's just like that. I was happy as a clam the first 10 hours, and bam, the night hit. The jellyfish mask went on, the waves came up to 2 to 4 feet, and I'm rocking out there and thinking, how will I last for 3 days? Which is what this is going to take, 2 to 3 days. And I went to Bonnie, and she said, just make it through the night. Just let's get to dawn. Let's get to the sun comes up. Find a way through the minutes, the hours, and get to dawn. Then we'll talk about the next, whatever we're going to make it through. So I just got through that night.
This is what is impossible to even comprehend. Because I know what happens when, and everyone, you know what happens when you don't get enough sleep.
Yeah.
There is no sleep in the 53 hours.
No.
There's no sleep.
No.
And tell me, at what point do you start to become delusional?
Yeah.
At what point?
Yeah.
At 10 hours in, you're still happy?
No, still happy. It depends what you're going through physically and what drains you, but for me, it always seems to be at around 30 hours. I don't know. I've done many swims.
And what are you
now.
eating? Are you eating? Were they feeding you peanut butter? What are you eating?
I learned to not just eat all these compressed marathon foods, and astronaut foods. They just take butter pasta. Bonnie will take fingerfuls of buttered pasta, and I'm like a trained seal out there. I open my mouth, I tread water, and she and I gobble it down. They'll give me peanut butter and honey sandwiches. Pauline, my other trainer, makes for me, and so I eat real food too. It absorbs the salt water in the stomach. It makes you feel normal, if you can.
Because what does all of that salt water do to your body?
You're sick as a dog.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Even though Diana eats every 90 minutes while in the water, she can lose as much as 30 pounds during a marathon swim. Saltwater is a huge challenge. After so long in the water, it essentially becomes poisonous as the body absorbs way too much salt. It causes swelling, sores, dehydration, vomiting, and even impaired judgment and hallucination.
You are too close to the reef! You have to swim this way!
As the hours wear on, it can become increasingly difficult to stay focused and alert.
That's the thing that drives people literally crazy when they're out in the water. You hear these stories of people who are trying to survive after being stranded in the water. They lose their mind because of the salt water.
Yeah.
So what mind games did you play with yourself? I heard you sing songs to yourself. You
I have a playlist of about 85 songs, and they're my generation.
So you're not listening to music?
No, I don't listen. It's all in my head, and I hear it. I hear it as if I can hear every guitar strum, and I can hear all the harmonies. So if I'm singing, I tried to telephone, they said you were not home. That's a lie. If I get to the end of that song and sing it just the way I know it, I make a couple words wrong. I sing that song 1,000 times in a row, like no reply, 122.
Yes.
No reply, 148. If I sing it 1,000 times, I've got 9 hours and 45 minutes to the boom, to the beat. So all those songs help me. Not only do I like the pleasure of Neil Young, Janis Joplin, Simon and Garfunkel. That's my generation. That's my music.
Yeah.
So I got a little Black Eyed Peas, but when I sing those songs, not only do they help me, but they're metronomic. You're steadily meditating. You're off somewhere else. You're thinking about how could the universe been created? And I'm not a religious person, but when I left this time, I finished reading Stephen Hawking's revision of his book on the history of the universe, and he says, and most astrophysicists believe, but it blows. I read the sentence, and I lie in bed just saying, whoa, that blows my mind. And when I'm out there, there's no better place to think about that stuff when you're under the stars and out in the vastness. So he says that all of this matter in this universe, it used to be at one time in the size literally of a millionth of a millionth of a millionth of a penny. Now, come on. And one day it just couldn't take it anymore, and there was a nuclear fusion, and it went bow, and it became this. And the Earth went over there next to the sun, and then life happened. So you know, I'm just, when I'm out there, I'm saying no reply, and I'm counting German and French, but I'm also at that 30, 36, 40 hour, I'm going off to, so this universe used to be, and now it's, and how long would it take to get there? And what is it, you know, where is it all going, and where are we all going?
Do you
and
feel one with the ocean at some point? You just feel like there's no difference between your body and your stroke and the water and the surroundings around you?
I do. I feel at home in the ocean, not in a pool.
Yeah.
Not in a river, not in a lake, but the ocean. I actually feel the tidal pull, and I feel the moon pulling the tides out there, and it's I guess what mountain climbers feel when they get to the top of the mountain. Not that they conquered it, but they're part of it.
Coming up, think about this, Super Solars. What happens to you after 53 hours of no sleep? Well, dehydrated and sleep deprived, we see what happens to Diana in the ocean.
I was hanging on by a thread.
How she dug deep and found a way. And we have a sneak peek at what Diana's doing next. With the help of Procter & Gamble, she's going to make quite a splash.
We're on a mission
to tackle life's big questions.
I'm Golriz.
And I'm Devin.
And this is
Soul Pancake.
Dance walk.
Dance walk. Dance walk.
We often head from place to place so quickly that we forget to take a break and just enjoy the moment.
So, Soul Pancake set out to give people a way to inject some fun into an everyday activity.
I'm always on a mission and walking too fast and I don't look around me, and this was great. Everyone was looking at each other and dancing with each other and smiling, and it was really fun.
Marathon swimming takes its toll on the body, the mind, and the spirit. For Diana, a mix of dehydration, sleep deprivation, and prolonged saltwater exposure produced a dreamlike state that took her, literally, out of this world.
So I loved that you started to see the folks from the Yellow Brick Road.
Oh, yeah.
That you saw the Yellow Brick Road. You saw them.
Well, you know, I love The Wizard of Oz. It's great, but it's not like my favorite musical of all time. I don't have it like as my, you know.
Yes.
And but I was looking underwater, and I said to Bonnie, Bonnie, I see at night, I see the Yellow Brick Road. It's like going along like this, and what's really weird is, wasn't the Yellow Brick Road like the Tin Man and the Lion? But that's not who's on it. It's like those little guys who had the knapsacks. Yeah. Who were saying, hi-ho, hi-ho.
Yeah.
It's like those people. And so she's not gonna spend time talking me out of an hallucination. Why would she try to get me back to reality? It's like when my mom had Alzheimer's. Am I gonna try to tell her that we already had breakfast? You know, who cares? So she would say, she said to me, you follow them. They are going right where we're going. Just get right over them and go where they're going. And I was going along going, hi-ho. I heard them, hi-ho, hi-ho. And I followed them, and I saw that for hours. There was no doubt in my mind. It wasn't like I was aware that's a hallucination. I said, I see the Yellow Brick Road, and I see those little men walking along.
Okay, did you see, did you see anything else?
Well, this year I saw the Taj Mahal.
You saw the Taj
Now, that's
Mahal.
another thing. I've never been to the Taj Mahal, but I guess I've seen pictures of it. But I was out with the shark divers. There was a big storm. And so we have no boats with us, and they form a circle around me, and I'm just treading water, and I was hanging on by a thread. I remember just kind of going under, and they would say, let's do a little breaststroke. Let's wake you up. Let's get, you know, and I was getting cold too, so I would do breaststroke just following them. And I said to one of them, do you see it? Do you see, their Taj Mahal is over here? And he said, yeah, I see it. And, you know, and I said, but I mean, it's so, aren't we like between Cuba and Florida? Is it the Taj? I was the geography, and there was land. I saw all the sand and the grass all around it. And then I thought, what if I could get out and walk for a while, you know, instead of being on the water? But there was no doubt in my mind.
That you saw the Taj Mahal.
It was there. It was there, yeah.
Here's how you describe swimming on your blog. You say, the metronome of the hundreds of thousands of breaths and strokes takes the mind to subliminal poetry and philosophy.
Yeah,
That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, because, you know...
Is that nirvana or transcendence?
I don't know if you get all the way to nirvana, but you're certainly in a place of quieting the mind. I mean, you know, people say to me, do you meditate? So I say, well, when I walk my dogs on the beach, you know, and I look out at the horizon, I do. I feel my pulse come down, and all that monkey chatter. We all have it.
Yes.
Nobody's free of it. You know, so you've got the little, you know, eating into your confidence, or worried about this, or paranoid about that. We all have all that little stuff going on. And when you, I guess meditation is all about calming and quieting and really being that peaceful being that you truly are, that you were as an infant, you know, coming into this world. And so if you're out there with, and you know, it almost sounds like when you hear those recordings of a child in utero, you know, when you hear them breathing and you hear the heartbeat in there, when you're out there, it's not just, it's loud. You're not just in total silence. You're hearing, because it's exaggerated in your ears and the bathing caps, and you're hearing the splash of the stroke. So when I'm singing with that, you know, it's sort of like you're in a metronome and you're in a meditation, and that's why I think you're out with Stephen Hawking and the meaning of the universe.
Right, and out there. So when you're, I mean, after how long before your arms get physically tired? Like, I can't move another stroke.
You know what, Oprah, I was so proud of myself this time, because when I reached the beach, not a moment of soreness. And you know why? It's because of those 16, 18, 20.
I was going to say because of the training.
I did the training. I didn't leave a thing behind. So I knew that if it was going to be 80 hours, that this one was still going to come out, and this one was going to come out after it.
That's amazing.
It is. It is.
It is amazing. So you're gonna now swim for charity.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to get into a pool in Herald Square and swim for 48 hours up and down with my heart focused on those good people whose lives and homes were wrecked by Hurricane Sandy. And many of them, thousands, are still suffering. So I was a New Yorker, and I say, I'm not going to forget you. I'm going to swim for 48 hours and remember you the whole time. All kinds of well-known people and not so well-known, wounded warriors, kids. They're going to do a few laps. But we are going to give a whole pile of money, I hope, at the end. So I'm not going to be a swimmer anymore, but I am going to swim up and down in a pool in recognition of the fact that we cannot forget our brothers and sisters, because we wouldn't want to be forgotten ourselves if it happened to us. Yeah.
Before we leave you today, a glimpse at how Diana finds peace and connection in the majesty of the ocean in this week's original short.
Let's call it 8:19. That's when we're going to start the swim. 8:19.
8:19.
You know, I can't ever say I'm going out on a 12-hour swim, and boy, I'm just so looking forward to it. You don't feel that way with the marathon swimming. Just remember if the body's hurting and the mind is weak, that you want to do this. What's it going to be like in the 20th hour? What's it going to be like later? And oh, I'm only maybe a third of the way through. Where am I? I've got to get out of all that monkey chatter in my head and just stay this 90 minutes. How do I get through it? You're almost in this sensory deprivation tank. you're turning your head 60 times a minute, so you're not hearing or seeing very well or very much. You're in your own thoughts. There are a lot of times when I just let the quiet and the metronomic pace of it let my mind go, and all of a sudden I am thinking about, if you go out past this galaxy and that galaxy and all the universe that we know about today, is there a closed edge to it, or does it go unto infinity?